The Ryen Russillo Show is presented by DraftKings. On today's show, we have two awesome interviews. We're going to talk about Booger McFarland, Lane Kiffin of Baton Rouge, previewing all the conference championship games in college football, and just a simple question. Who do you actually like in both of the conferences in the NFL? I'll kind of break some of that stuff down. Von Miller, one of my favorite defensive players in all my years of watching the NFL. He's with Washington. Things are winding down, but he's still ready to compete. But he wants to become a GM, so we'll ask him about that and whether or not he would have taken himself over Cam Newton when they were in the same draft, going at number 1 and number 2. That and an awesome, I can't even say question of life advice, a quandary that may be unsolvable. One touchdown can change everything. The crowd, the momentum, the game itself, it never gets old. I love touchdowns. You know what's great? It's being in the backyard. Those touchdowns could change your life. My dad used to call me Mr. Six. That's what they're worth. Feel that same rush with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, where every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in. With DraftKings Sportsbook, all of the action's in your hands. First touchdown, anytime TD, live bets, every play, every snap, every game matters. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. Here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. When your team hits the end zone, you could hit the payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Ryen, R-Y-E-N. That's code Ryen, R-Y-E-N. Bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Chill.
Buy now and get the Russillo hoodie free. Call 1-800.
European theater.
The week is the Oregon Duck.
We need a big push here.
He is one of the main figures you see in college football on Saturdays for ABC and ESPN, and also a guy who knows a little bit about the NFL. It's good friend Booger McFarland, who joins us again. So let's start with a place that you played, and I just sort of adopted it. LSU, bringing in Lane Kiffin. We kind of knew this was happening, but there was a whole extra 48 hours of drama. Your thoughts on him being the head coach of the Tigers?
Well, first of all, when we fired Scott Woodard, the old athletic director, and Virgil Osbury became the interim AD and then the permanent AD, he set out to find one thing, and that was the best coach that he could that fit LSU. And I think when you look at the landscape, like there's really, unless Nick Saban is coming out of retirement, like there's no other coach that fits in the South like Lane Kiffin, because he checks a lot of boxes. Number one, he's a hands-on coach. And when you go from Brian Kelly, who would be on the 5th floor and just call down to the locker room to make sure everybody's okay, like you needed somebody that could come down and be hands-on. Lane is a hands-on coach. That's number one. Number two, he's an offensive genius. And so he checks all the boxes for LSU's offense was putrid last season. And now when it comes to attracting quarterbacks to go with the wide receivers that we've always had down there, you check that box. And then thirdly, and most important, like he brings a swagger to him, dude. Like this dude brings, I'm not going to say it's arrogance or cockiness, but it is a swagger. I'm good. I know I'm good. I can get it done. I've had it done in Oxford at Ole Miss. I can get it done in Baton Rouge. And he comes to the Mecca. Like you talked about how you adopted LSU. I went there. There's no better place in America for a college football game than when that place is right. And for the last few years, even when Brian Kelly was winning, it wasn't right because the style of football wasn't there. It got right a little bit with Jaden Daniels, but I'm used to that place being electric, defensively, offensively, the crowd loving the coach. It doesn't mean you got to win every game, but there has to be an engagement. Ed Orgeron won because, and the people loved him because he engaged with them. Les Miles engaged eating grass and all the weird stuff he did. Nick Saban was Nick Saban. And I think Brian Kelly got away from that, but they got back to that with Lane Kiffin. He fits. He is going to bring something that I think LSU fans want again, and that's a championship.
Nothing to disagree with on that. Is there any part of it, and I'm not even getting to like when he was younger, because by all accounts, people that know him, and again, I don't know him at all, but I know people that know him, and it's like this guy's gotten shit together, and you saw some of that happening the last couple of years at Ole Miss, so that's a big part of this. But is there anything to like his pattern. There's just a lot of stuff. Like Mark Schlabach did an incredible job on ESPN.com, just giving you this full timeline of reporting of like how it all started and all the twists and turns. But like there's part of it where, he's going to the AD at Ole Miss saying, all right, you're going to talk to the leadership group, which is the group of players about, Lane wanted to keep playing. There was a chance they thought maybe if Auburn won that game, they were going to play in the SEC title game. So there was a decision that had to be made there. And then ultimately a team that's going to be in the playoff. So Lane is trying to leverage his power in Oxford to stay on and keep coaching. And again, I don't know how long LSU would have put up with that. They said, okay, it's fine if he wants to coach in the playoff. I can understand Ole Miss saying we didn't feel like having an LSU advertisement for this entire time because that's all it was going to be talked about. He'd already made his decision. But Lane, like the thing that bothered me a little bit, and it may mean nothing. And you know what? It's going to mean nothing, but I'm just going to say it, is he tells the AD, like, hey, you're going to talk to the leadership group about who they want to have coach this team, and you're not going to like what they want to hear. And then he goes in, it's the exact opposite. And the players are like, we don't really care. We're kind of sick of it. And we're just worried about our position coaches, where, again, the defensive side of the guys stay. And then it sounds like Charlie Weiss is going to go back as far as the offense and then go to LSU. But it just always seems to be a little bit extra with him, which ultimately, I know it doesn't matter if they win games, but that's the part of it that, I don't know, it always just drives me crazy.
So here's what I'll say. I think Lane made a decision that he wanted to leave Oxford and go to Baton Rouge. And I think at that point, the art of negotiation took place. And at that point, it turned into nothing different than when you're negotiating with a company or a business. Like there are things that you do to create leverage. There's things that you do to get an edge. There are things that you do to try to put the ball in your court in the negotiation. So everything that happened from the moment that he said, I'm leaving, until the moment that he got to Baton Rouge, I look at it and I encapsulate it as a negotiation. And so there are certain tactics that were probably used. I don't know all the details, but I've been in negotiations. You've been in contract negotiation. We all know how it goes. It's a leverage play. What do you do? What's your thing that you can leverage? And so I look at all of that in one little ball and say negotiation. Now, the fact that he wanted to coach the team also, I think that was the right thing to do. I think LSU had already signed off and said he could go back and coach the team. The fact that Ole Miss, in my mind, took it personal. And here's what I mean. It's like this, Ryan. Let's say you're living in one house and you're married to this lady in one house, and you leave her to say, I'm going 2 houses down and I'm going to start dating your best friend. But, oh, by the way, she's got a couple kids. I can't move in there yet. Can I still stay here? Well, the person you're staying with is going to say, hell no, get the hell out. If you want to leave, go. It's the same thing. Like personal feelings became involved. I think the best thing for the kids would have been to let Lane finish coaching. It's the reason Charlie Weiss Jr. is going back, because that's the best thing for the kids. But because Carter and I get the whole, 6-week billboard for LSU, I get all of that. But at some point, I think the personal feelings and the emotion of you're leaving me to go to my arch rival and you still want to come hang around, I think the emotion of that got the best of everybody involved. And I think once that happened, that it was time for him to leave. I do give him a lot of credit for not holding a grudge and allowing Charlie Weiss to go back, because Charlie Weiss is now working at LSU. Lane could have easily said, hey, you can't go. But Lane allowed Charlie Weiss Jr. to go back and coach those guys. So I give Lane a lot of credit for that.
Well, it even said, like, hey, if you're not on the plane, you're not. So it's like, so what do I have to do? I have to fly with you, get on the plane, and now I'm allowed to go back and coach the offense?
Like all of those negotiation tactics. So that's why, because if you get down to who said what, when they said it, that's why I put all of that stuff, the leadership council, the negotiation, it's negotiation tactics. And however him and Jimmy Sexton tried to figure out a way to get what they wanted accomplished, that's on them. The fact that once he got to LSU, he allowed Charlie Weiss Jr. to go back, I thought was admirable. I thought it was something that he didn't have to do. And I think the kids at Ole Miss, 2-3 months down the road, they will appreciate that. But regardless of all that, I think everybody in Baton Rouge, you know this, you probably talked to a bunch of people, they're ecstatic that Lane is the coach. There was never going to be an easy way to do it. Everybody's talking about, well, how come he didn't do it the right way? Well, you tell me, Russillo, what's the right way to do what he did? I've been thinking about the right, quote unquote, right way. I haven't found the right way yet.
Well, that's the thing that's really hard to debate, because I think on the negotiation thing, just in the bigger picture, even though all our things are different, and it is a little different when you have millions of fans relying on you. When you have one of these jobs, you have the responsibility of an entire community, which is way beyond anything most of us are ever dealing with any of our decisions. But I think the similarities are eventually you just get to the point where like, hey, this is your best offer. This is your best option. This is how we're going to work this. Like it's all on the table. And it felt like all of that was pretty much understood because LSU was going to pay him whatever it took to bring him in. It sounds like Ole Miss would have matched and made him the highest paid coach. And then it just kept going on and on and on again. So look, the right way to do it in this business, in college football, I don't know what the right way to do it is. I just know that it's kind of the way business is done and it's really nasty. And because it usually is always really nasty, there's less sensitivity about the next guy that has to do something that nobody's going to like. So, it feels a little gross when it's a team heading to the playoffs, but I don't know if you thought that he should have been able to coach throughout the playoff. I have no problem with Ole Miss going like, look, we're not doing this. I don't know if there was a way that Lane could have done it where it would have been better. I don't know if LSU would have been fine with that if they kept advancing, being like, hey, we've got transfer portals, we've got all this stuff coming up. Like,
I'm telling you, I'm not telling you what I heard. LSU was cool with him coaching as far as they went into the playoffs. They were fine with it. They were okay. They told Lane he could coach.
Right. Maybe that would have been the right way to do it. But like I look at it, even James Franklin right now with the Penn State situation of Virginia Tech, like they've been 24 decommits from Penn State. 11 of those have gone to Virginia Tech. So with this being over the last few years with the transfer portal and all this stuff, like Lane's not going to be like he's going to be prepping for Ole Miss playoff games, but he's also going to be inside the facility telling these guys that he thinks matter and can play for him in Baton Rouge. So I think we'd be really naive to think that that wouldn't be part of the reason why Ole Miss is like, you know what, man, like we're just not going to do this. We're not going to have you around anymore. So I don't really blame them for deciding, hey, this doesn't make a ton of sense, even though it sounds like if they were going to be playing tomorrow, on Saturday, in the SEC title game, it sounds like they may have let him coach. Yeah, he would have coached that game.
Right, because the turnaround would have been too quick. I think the way to do it is how North Texas is doing it, how Tulane is doing it, how if James Madison gets in, how they're going to do it.
But those guys aren't in the same division. That's the problem.
I understand. They're not in the same division. And because that, there's less emotion. The reason this got messy is because of the emotion. The emotion involved because of the rival and because Ole Miss has always looked at LSU and said, that's what we want to be. And that's how that rivalry became so, like even going back to Halloween night when Billy Cannon took the punt return back. Like if you go back that far, this rivalry has been brewing for a long time. And Lane, talk about role reversal, he stirred the rivalry when he was at Ole Miss. And so how ironic is it? Now he's on the other side. It just creates, I think the schedule comes out next week. We're going to find out when LSU goes back to Oxford. That'll be must-see TV. I think 2 games will be must-see TV next year. Clemson comes to Baton Rouge for Lane's first game next year. And then somewhere, I think in October, LSU goes to Oxford. I don't like to predict things, but I can guarantee you game day will probably be at those 2 games.
Yeah, it would make sense. And I'll correct myself, technically not the division anymore, but the history being in the same division. It's a little extra than, say, it being somebody who used to be in the East. Let's talk SEC title game then. What do you got?
To me, that game is less about X's and O's. It's more about mentality. Like when Kirby left Bama and went to Georgia, what did he try to do? He tried to mimic what Nick taught him. We're going to be physical. We're going to run the ball. We're going to play defense. Well, somewhere along the lines, he mimicked everything but the mindset. Because every time Georgia plays Alabama, it's almost like they're getting their own way. Now, I'll give him credit. He's won one time. And that was a big one. That was for the national championship.
Yeah, that was a big one, right? But that's the only win.
I mean, that was a huge one. But Georgia has probably been more talented than Alabama a lot of the times. At the very minimum, they've been as equally talented. So how come they can't win? I think it's all mental. Warren Sapp said years ago, he told me, never accept a carbon copy of the original. And the original was always Alabama. And it's still been Alabama. Now, it's kind of crazy now because Alabama doesn't do Alabama anymore. They don't line up and run the football down your throat anymore. They can't run the football this year. For whatever reason, Jam Miller can't run it. The offensive line hasn't been good. So it's like the fun and gun with Ty Simpson and Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams, who sometimes catches it, sometimes he doesn't. So it's take away all the X's and O's. I just want Kirby to get his team to play like the team on the other side is Texas and not Alabama, if that makes sense. Because they play with a mentality, I think, that's different. Every other team on the other sideline, not named Alabama, it's like they come into the game and say, we're going to dominate. It's almost like when they go against Alabama, like we're just trying to play uneven or something. And to me, that's where that game always gets out of whack.
I love the matchup, not just because of the names, but who these teams are right now and then who they looked like last week. Because, I mean, I think it's fair to say Alabama, even though it was odd because they actually looked like they were able to run the football against an Auburn defense who doesn't let anybody, like whatever you want to say about Auburn, and I've said this earlier on the pod, like I think that defense is the best unit of any bad team in college football. It's absurd how nasty and how talented that group is. They're not going to be involved in any more of these conversations, but it comes down to Ty basically in the second half once again, like having to solve it, and it wasn't his greatest game. So we know they're likely going to be one-dimensional. They got shut out in the second half against Georgia in that game. There's probably some decision stuff there with Kirby where like, man, if you got a chance to look that one again or replay it, whatever, he made the decision, didn't work out. Then they have that pitch out to Cash. It doesn't work out, gets blown up, so they were right in it after giving up a ton of points in the first half. The funny thing is on the other side, like I started to feel better about Georgia's front. I still feel better about their front, but then Stockton has the worst game of his season against a Tech defense that getting lit up for 3 straight weeks. Although I would say watching Tech and Georgia play, like that Tech defense was so up for that game because of the rivalry and how hard those guys were hitting. And they just were a really intense unit there that didn't look anything like the previous few weeks. So I'm leaning Georgia in this one because I would think in a rematch in the season and the history and just the one-dimensional part of Bama's offense, even though it's not like I think Stockton's going to beat you multiple times. I think the Tennessee thing was probably more of an aberration than who he became this season. I guess I just like Georgia in the matchup.
Yeah. Georgia's got to run the football. Like if you're Georgia, then I think you got to run it with Frazier and Bowens. You got to control the line of scrimmage. You got to get Delp and Lucky involved with the tight end. You're going to have to hit a big play down the field. I don't think this Bama defense is as good rushing the passer. So maybe it's the old theory. Let's come out and throw the football and get up a little bit, and then let's turn around and hand the football off. So I'm not sure what Mike Bobo is going to come up with, but I know one thing: like Georgia is as talented as Alabama. This game should be really close, but for whatever reason, whether it's turnovers, whether it's here we go again when something bad happens, it's usually not that way. And I think Kirby's got to get his team mentally ready to play. I do think Bama is probably more talented offensively. Georgia's more talented defensively. So let's see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, I can't wait for this one. How does Indiana win?
I think if you're Indiana, I think your quarterback has to be the best football player on the field. Now, if you think about last year's game, I think that Rourke, I believe Indiana's quarterback's name was, like he didn't play well. They were kind of offensively, they couldn't get anything explosive. I think Mendoza's way better than Rourke. I think they have an opportunity to create some explosive plays, but Mendoza's got to play well. Like Matt Patricia is, like he's scheming things and doing things. Like if you go back to the opening game against Arch until the last game against Marcel Reed, like he's made quarterbacks look really bad based on some of the things he's doing defensively. Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, like those guys have been absolutely outstanding. And so my question would be, is can Mendoza play and put up points? I don't think this is going to be a 17-14 game. I think Julian Sand is too accurate with the football. I think Jeremiah Smith and Cornell Tate are too good. I think if you're Ohio State, they finally got out of their way against Michigan where they said, okay, even though we can run the football, what's the best part of our team? It's the quarterback and the wide receivers. So let's throw the football. And so I think this game is going to be played in the high 20s, low 30s. Mendoza is going to have to put up some points. I think that's the key to that game, man. This Indiana team is better than the one last year. The one last year really, even though the score was kind of close, they really were never in the game. And so I just want to see, can Kurt Signetti's bunch, who's better this year, hang with Ohio State? I know this. If the game is in the fourth quarter, and it's a game, it's a one-score game in the fourth quarter, I want to see how Ohio State performs because they've had double-digit leads against everybody. How do they handle being in a tight game in the fourth quarter when they got to make a play?
Yeah, I mean, you can make the argument for both of these teams. I mean, other than the emotion around Michigan, where that Michigan team needed Ohio State to make 4 mistakes for them to be in the game. Both of these teams have just not been challenged the last month and a half. You could make the argument looking at how the Big Ten schedule played out for them. Okay, if Duke wins, do you want them in the playoff?
No, there's no room for a 5-loss team in the playoff. Come on, man. Let's be honest. Like, we can sit up here and sugarcoat it. Like,
I'm with you.
If Tulane wins and JMU wins and Duke wins, I don't want to hear about Duke beating Virginia and getting the bump. There's no way a 5-loss team should be in the playoff. I think in that situation, JMU gets in, Tulane gets in, Duke, hey, don't lose 5 times. That's all I'll say.
That UConn loss, though, looks better now, just for the record.
Better as in like...
they had a nice season up there in Stores. Number 2 in independent football, right behind Notre Dame. Of course, one of only 2 teams that play independent football. Look, in the past, when I would look at the structure of the new 12-team playoff, I mean, I can make an argument. But again, to get all this stuff passed, they had to tell the group of 5, like, you will have a chance to be in this. So it feels like a full playoff. And then, whatever. Ultimately, the big boys can kind of do whatever they want, but they probably felt like a little bit more giving at that time, being like, look, we're going to get 12 of these. We're going to get this much more TV money. We're going to have all these extra games. Like, yeah, we can let those guys play in one of them. At least they changed the seeding part of it. Generally, even a 5-loss team, like, I look at your Power 4 experience, to me, it's a completely different level of football. It is and not to say that one team can't beat another team on one given week, but to look at what you go through in the American, although the American, it feels pretty strong at the top, Sun Belt. I would probably argue against you on this one, but because it's this Duke team, maybe if it were Tennessee with 4 losses somehow in this version of it, like I was listening to some Tennessee arguments the other day about how, like, they're not that good. And I was like, man, I don't know. Like, granted, they got smoked by Vandy at home, which I didn't expect. But you look at the Georgia loss, you look at the Bama loss at the first half, end of first half, second half stuff. Like, I'm like, God, that's a really good 4-loss team. So I'd like to leave myself the idea that there could be a team with a ton of losses that it's like, think about their losses and how they played out and then who they actually lost to. But that's not the case for Duke. We're talking about Tulane, where they get Tulane's quarterback. We're talking about the UConn part of it. They get destroyed by Illinois, which is like the one ranked win that a bunch of other teams have. And then they don't even play. I think they played 2 of the top 5 teams in the ACC when you look at the standings there, at least going into the last weekend. So it's hard to make a case for that 5. I just wonder if the committee will actually do it and go with the Tulane North Texas winner and go James Madison. It'd be wild, but they'd probably have a lot more support for something that I didn't even think was a possibility.
I think the committee's got a lot on their hands from a seeding standpoint. I think we have an idea of, like, what the teams are right now. Like, Virginia, win and you're in. If Duke wins, I think JMU, if they win, they're in. North Texas, Tulane, it's a win and in game. But other than that, it seems like the teams are set. We're just going for seeding. Like, I think Ohio State, Indiana, regardless of what happens, I think both of those teams are getting a bye. All right. If Georgia loses,
you would think so. It's. I mean, I don't know how that game gets ugly. Maybe it's just Ohio State starts hitting all these big shots. But, like, I'm with you. Like, this is the part of it where you would hope on the seeding and the ranking stuff. It's like, well, if you just lost to everybody's number 1 and it was somewhat competitive, I don't want to see Indiana, like, over penalized for that and start pushing up some of these other teams. Like, I'd probably be more willing to make an argument for Texas Tech getting bumped up if they smash BYU again than I would just the default, hey, SEC conference champ this year, because throughout the entire season, like, I think these teams are good, but I don't think any of those SEC teams are special by any means.
No, I don't think there's any special team in the country, to be honest with you. I think Ohio State's probably the most talented team. Other than that, I think it's a lot of good teams. Like, the committee fell in love with Notre Dame throughout the season. They ran off 10 games in a row, but who did they really beat? I mean, their best win's USC. People say, man, they've gotten so much better. Well, look at Miami also. Miami's gotten better also. I don't think there's a dominant team. Like, Georgia looks like they can dominate sometimes, but I've seen Georgia struggle also. And so this is a year that I think that it's just like in pro football. I think this is a year where there's 5 or 6 teams that if you told me, hey, here's the matchup, I'll say they can win that one. And I think that's what's going to be so cool about this 12-team playoff. And then also the NFL playoffs when they start. We don't know who's going to win it. Yeah, Ohio State will probably be a prohibitive favorite, but I'm not betting the farm saying they're going to win it all. I'm just not. Especially when I watched them play against Michigan the other day, and if Bryce Underwood could hit the side of a barn, Michigan was in that game. They just kept kicking field goals. And Michigan is not super, overly talented. They're very well coached, but they're not overly talented. So it's just one of those things that even though Ohio State's supposed to be this juggernaut, when they've gone against teams that have equal competition, Texas, Michigan, the games have been fairly close, right? If you watch
I don't know. The Texas one, sure. I mean, the Texas one is, goal line play goes the other way. Then who knows how we're talking about Texas, how we're talking about Ohio State. I think after the first quarter, once everybody settled down with the emotion of that, I thought Ohio State was dominant against the Wolverines. But you're right. I mean, they were completely limited too because Underwood just isn't going to do it against that team right now.
Correct. And also Michigan was kicking field goals. Imagine instead of Michigan kicking 3 field goals, they scored 3 touchdowns. It's a whole different ballgame. So, but to your point, they did what they normally don't do, which is get big plays and created separation. And at that point, it was a runaway because Michigan was never going to be able to score that many points.
I have a couple NFL thoughts, but I just want to make sure I touch on the Big 12. I put it last. I can't fathom BYU beating Texas Tech in the rematch unless it's just a mistake-filled game.
I think they got to take them in a phone booth and make it a 12-round slug fight. They got to resist them being BYU, resist the urge to drop Bear Bachmeier back and let him throw the football 30 times. Don't do that. You got to run the football, man. Make that defensive line. There's an old saying, Russillo, in football. I don't know if you ever heard this one. You got to earn the right to rush the passer. Okay, Texas Tech wants to rush the passer. Well, how do you earn the right to do that? You got to stop the run. If I'm Solani, I'm making them stop the run. I'm going to run the football. And that does 2 things. 1, it's going to slow that pass rush down of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And 2, it keeps Bear Morton and the offense off the field. That's what I do. Now, that doesn't mean you got to turn into Navy and run the football 60 times, but it does mean that you got to be okay with getting 4 or 5 yards, throwing a 10-yard pass, getting 4. You got to be okay with that ball control offense.
Yeah, I did not like Bear had a tough day. Bear had a tough day in Lubbock. So, maybe second time around, being a young quarterback in the seat a second time, it's going to be a little bit easier for him. But I still think Tech could have put up way more points if they weren't kicking field goals all day.
So with that saying, you said you can't see a way BYU wins. So let's go down that road. BYU wins. Texas Tech is in. BYU's out. Based on what the committee had done, now most likely you're going to see a situation where Notre Dame and Miami are right there next to each other. And if it comes down to that final spot, Notre Dame has been ahead of Miami all season long. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think at the last rankings that the committee would move Miami over Notre Dame and give Miami the spot based on the head-to-head?
Look, I have a hard time with this, right? Because I want to be, if I were on the committee, I would want to be able to say hey, I know what the resume is and I know all this different stuff. Because you can get really, really biased with the way you want to present a resume. It's super easy to do. I mean, I could do it with all these teams and be like, hey, here's the argument for, here's the argument against. At least the ones that we're debating, not with the top teams, because there'd just be nothing against it. I feel like Notre Dame is the better football team today. But as this thing is played out, I'd have a really hard time ignoring the head-to-head in your scenario where that means Texas Tech and BYU are in and we're going for that last spot. I mean, sure, we can talk about CJ Carr, first snaps ever on the road. Miami was the better team. Late, you're like, wow, Notre Dame's back in this game. That's how I remember it, though, where it never really felt like Miami was all that threatened, even though there was a chance there at the end. I also think Miami really hurt themselves losing the way they had lost, twice in 3 weeks, right as the committee got started. So it was kind of like, Miami's a huge afterthought. And then they had to work to kind of build them back in because now they're stuck in this problem. So if I want this regular season to mean what I always try to defend and protect with expansion and realignment, all these things that I hate, I would probably, lean towards, look, I think we have to give it to Miami on the head-to-head here. So that's what I would do. That's where I've come on this.
Right. I think I agree with you. If head-to-head's not going to matter, then why are we playing the games? To me, it's as simple as that. I hear you. I think Notre Dame is better. I think Notre Dame might be better. I don't have to really think, though. I can go back and turn the tape on August 31st and I watch them play. And regardless of when it was, they played this season, and it has to count. This is a resume. It's not a beauty pageant. It's not about how you look right now. It's a resume contest. And when you look at the resume, when the resumes are equal, what's the differentiating factor? Well, I saw these two teams play, and A beat B. It's as simple as that for me.
Yeah, this committee, at least this year, tracking some of the stuff, and I'm not one to be like, oh, these people are so stupid, and this is so, because it's like, look, they're ranking 25 teams. Like any one of us can find something that we can get really mad about, probably make a really compelling case.
Right.
But they seem to be very aligned with some of the metrics, and Notre Dame is off the charts on some of the overall like rankings where you'll look at them as a football team. So that might be something they're defaulting to in the room and ignoring something that I think over the years, like I think back to that TCU Baylor argument that we had like 10 years ago. And it was like, yeah, I know their loss is worse than your loss, but I mean, my God, you would never argue it the other way. Notre Dame would never argue it. Their fans would never argue it the other way if it was the other way around and Miami were ranked ahead of them. So I do think that that's supposed to matter in a regular season that has been, look, it's still super important, but watered down a little bit more as we've had so much expansion. All right. NFL. It seems a little less dramatic. And I know we'll kind of finish up here with you. Do you really like any team in the AFC?
Wow. I like Denver. I don't trust Bo Nix. I like Indy. I don't trust Daniel Jones. I don't trust Baltimore.
You like Drake May, but don't trust New England.
I trust Mike Vrabel, though.
Yeah.
Okay. I do. I trust Mike Vrabel, and I trust Josh McDaniels with that quarterback. If you told me I could hang my hat on one right now, I think New England's going to get the bye. That means they don't have to play the first round. I think they'll have a home playoff game the second round. It's going to be 25 degrees in Foxborough. I think I'm going to give Mike Vrabel one win. It's on him. And I think the second win to go to the Super Bowl, Drake May's going to have to play like he's played all season. So if you gave me one team to hitch my wagon to on that side of the bracket, I would hitch it to the Patriots. If you told me the NFC, I'd probably hitch you to the Rams. I think the Rams, if they're healthy, the way Stafford is playing, they can run the football defensively. I like what they're doing. Emmanuel Forbes has found his calling going from Washington to LA. I think the Rams are the best team. And then I say that, and then Carolina puts a foot in their mouth and beats them in Charlotte. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's several teams that can kind of win this thing this season.
Yeah, the Carolina loss now, though, especially what they've done at home. And then, of course, the Green Bay game in there as well. And they were like the darlings of Vegas there for a while. Like every single week you'd look at sharp plays and it was like, man, Carolina again. And they were on it. Incredible job by the people that do this professionally. I don't even look at a Carolina loss, especially the way that one plays out. You get the 2 4th-down conversions. You've got Bryce Young playing probably the best game he's ever played. You've got the huge turnover that leads to another 7. So, anybody that's holding teams to these standards of like, you can't have the bad week after everybody fell in love with you. I'm more inclined to go, what are your best wins? Like, does it look like you can beat the best teams in the NFL? And for some of these teams, good records, I may not see that. I may feel like it's schedule-y, at least with the Rams. Like, I know when you line up against the best teams, like I really like your chances, even with that blown game against Philly earlier this year. So if we stayed in the NFC, how many teams would you pick against the Bears in a playoff game? So it'd be the Rams, Eagles in a rematch, or no?
No, something's going on with the Eagles, man. Like I've seen it too many times. Rams, Seahawks,
Bucks.
Where's the game being played at?
Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah. Let's say the seeding plays out. It's at Chicago.
No, it's going to be too cold up there. Yeah, Probably Rams, Seahawks with the ability to go into Chicago and win. I think those are the two teams that I would pick that have the ability to go into Chicago and get the dub.
How funny was it being a warm weather team and then going like, we're going to talk ourselves into that we're not going to be cold and we're tough and we're all these things and it doesn't matter. And then you get out there and you're like, damn, it's cold. Because that was part of like the Tampa resume there forever. It was that you guys, once you traveled like north a certain line, you were a different team. And I think it's still hard for us to kind of understand that stuff. But then I even think back to like the playoff last year, that Tennessee team, like that's the coldest football team I think I've ever seen when they were at Columbus. And it looked like their whole team was like, can we just leave now? Like, this sucks. You're like every shot on the sideline It was like, hey, let's just run the ball and run this fucking clock. Like, we don't want to be here anymore. Speak to your experience surrounded by a bunch of tough dudes with great resumes, whereas like we can hype ourselves up as much as we want coming out of the tunnel, but something happens when you're not used to it.
Dude, here's the thing about it. Like living in cold weather helps you create a mindset. Everybody's cold, first of all. But when you live there, you have a mindset that you're used to dealing with. When you live in a city where in December, like right now in Tampa, it was 85 degrees the day I played golf. 85. I tried to make it cold because it was 55 this morning when I teed off. I put on the quarter zip, and by the time I played 2 holes, I had to take it off. And so, that's how soft we are in Florida. And no matter how many times you tell yourself, hey, just lock in. When you walk out there and that hawk, and that's what we call it, that hawk, it's like 20 degrees and the wind is blowing and it starts to cut through your skin and you can feel it running down your throat and coming out the crack of your behind. Big guy, it comes a situation when you got to lock in for 3 hours. And it turns into mental toughness. And because we don't do it a lot, that's where you see it. Like Tennessee has never been in that. It gets a little cold in Knoxville, but it's not as cold as it is in Columbus. And so you're used to dealing with it on a daily basis, whereas we're trying to get into it and get acclimated for 3 hours. And it becomes a mindset, man, because everybody's cold. Like you can't tell me Ohio State wasn't cold, but because they deal with it every day, they know how to deal with it every day. And mentally they're capable of dealing with it every day. Whereas if you're not used to it, man, it's hell, dude. Like it's cold.
So even though I think all of us that have watched the Bears this year, and you're like, are they really this good? Like, they're not number 1 seed good. I don't look at them being atop of the NFC, even though there's a number 1 next to them right now, and going like, hey, that's the team I'm picking to win the NFC and play in a Super Bowl. But kind of to your Patriots point, where it's like, all right, who are they playing? Like, if the Pats are playing the Colts or the Chargers at home, once they get a bye, you're like, all right, well, what's the concern there? I do think this Colts correction that we're in the midst of right now, too, has a lot to do with the schedule. They still got 2 tough ones here.
Yeah.
So it could be one of those things where the Colts actually look good again at the very end of the season. And we're just like, hey, that was a really tough 4-game stretch for them after, other than that Denver game at the beginning of the year was like, is that a bad loss? It's like, no, it's actually a really good win for Indianapolis, and we shouldn't be that down on Denver for that game. But it sounds like, based on everything you're saying there, is that you'd probably pick Chicago at home against a team you might like better just because of what you just explained.
Yeah, especially if the defense continues to play to the level that they are. Caleb is, even though the passing game hasn't been great, Caleb makes 2 or 3 wild throws a game, man. Like the throw he made the other day in the Philly game when he was rolling to the left and threw it to the tight end, like a little 7 route to the corner. Like, that was stupid, dude.
That's
Unreal
the USC
throw.
That's the guy that I fell in love with. I was
right.
There
so
we
like,
go.
Like when he can make those throws, like they're going to be, and Ben Johnson is good for 10 to 14 points because if schematically, he's going to create something where they're going to score a couple of touchdowns. Then it turns into, if they can run the football with this rookie, Monangai and Swift, like, dude, they rushed for almost 300 yards against Philly.
I couldn't believe it.
Me either. But they did it.
Do you know that was the most that Fangio's given up on the ground in 20 years?
Yeah. And that's because like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter were just getting abused inside.
And Carter's now hurt with the shoulder thing, which makes it a little bit.
It's kind of weird because he had a double procedure. They didn't call it surgery. They just called it a double procedure. I'm like, what kind of procedure are we talking? He got shots in him, or because they didn't say surgery, they just said procedure. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what the hell is that?
It sounded maybe a lot worse than it actually is. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they can't figure it out. You think with the talent, or maybe, you start going like, hey, is this group a little overrated? It's like, well, a lot of those guys are just in a Super Bowl last year. So I'm not quite ready for that, as disappointing as that game was. I know you probably have another tee time. Should probably get another 9 holes in here. What'd you shoot today?
88.
That's terrible for you.
No, it's actually, I hadn't played in 6 weeks. So that was the first time I touched the club in 6 weeks with all the travel. I literally grabbed the clubs. I hit about 10 balls, and I played at this place called Cabot, which is used to be the old Worldwoods. Cabot Citrus Farms. It's pretty cool. First tee shot, piped it down the middle. I started feeling pretty good. Then the second shot, I hit it so far right. I was able to get up and down to make bogeys. I make a lot of bogeys, man. I make some good pars with some par 5s. My green regulation percentage sucks.
No.
That's what makes me struggle. Like I drove the ball well today. I could hit any green. Short game was cool. I stayed out the bunkers. The course today wasn't. It's long. Like it was 6,900 yards, but it was kind of wide open. Like the yardage has never been a problem for me. It's the fact that I got to be able to hit more greens where I can actually score and keep up with some of the Russillo scores I've been hearing about.
Well, we'll get you out here. Are you going to be in LA for any of the games?
Maybe I'm coming to Santa Clara for the Super Bowl, so maybe I have to make a trip up.
Yeah, come on out. I'll have to connect you with Marty Fish because I don't have the kind of juice that he does to get us on somewhere nice.
You don't have to connect me. I can call Marty. We can put Marty on the Zoom right now. That's my guy.
No, but maybe the three of us or whatever. We'll
and we can get Andy Roddick or James Blake and let's go do it.
Blake Griffin, staying with the Blake theme. You're the man. Thanks, Booger. We'll see you Saturday, all right?
Anytime. Later, Phil.
It's official. The Big Shack is out now. And let me tell you, it's a serious burger. We're talking 2 Angus beef patties, 3 buns, new secret sauce. It's stacked, balanced, and built the right way. You get everything you expect from Shake Shack. Fresh ingredients, that toasted potato bun, and sauce that pulls the whole thing together for $9.99. It's kind of wild how much burger you're getting, especially one that doesn't taste like typical fast food. It's big, it's fresh, and it's legit one of their best burgers yet. Here's what I love about the Big Shack, and it's really about Shake Shack in general. It's that there's still some people out there, you're like, you haven't ever tried it. Like, you haven't sat down and you're like, well, I don't know if that's what I want. It's like, well, you don't know what you want. You don't know what you want out of life because it's never going to be the same after this experience. I had a Shack burger the other day. You know what I went with? I was like, throw some more pickles on that thing because I didn't always do that on just the normal Shack burger. On the Big Shack, the pickles come with it. And it really brings the entire burger together as you just conquer all these layers. It's like the entire burger is some line of pay and you're cashing out with every bite. If you've ever been waiting to see what all the hype's about, today's the day. Go to Shake Shack and order the Big Shack. Sounds familiar, made different. He's been one of my favorite players throughout his time in the NFL, Commanders linebacker, future Hall of Famer, and host of the Free Range podcast. It's Von Miller. Good to see you. What's up?
Howdy, guys. Thanks for having me.
This was a big week for you with the history with Denver. It was a really fun game. I know not the outcome you'd want. I almost feel like that Ingram route against your guy, Bobby Wagner, was unfair to have him to have to hold up in coverage on that one. But look, this stage of your career, is there a different kind of appreciation for you to have this kind of matchup, knowing the history and success you had against your opponent?
That was a tough loss. It was a tough week for Von Miller all the way around. You know, the Aggies lost to TU, and then we lost to the Denver Broncos, and it was tough. Now I can just go back to being a fan. Now I could just go back to being a fan of the Denver Broncos. Definitely my favorite, team in the National Football League. A huge fan. Played there, 11 years. But with that being said, I definitely want to win. When you love somebody so much like that, you definitely want to beat them and say it, I told you so. But, I won't have the opportunity to do that right now. And, everything happens for a reason. There's no coincidences in life, and that's just how it was supposed to be. So I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
When you were talking about their O-line going up against it, and I really want to talk about what you want to do after being a player, but what is it that you see from this group that led you to giving them such great praise?
I think it's just, I think it starts with, Garrett Bowles. I'm a huge fan of him off the football field, so I think it was easier to give, them their flowers like that. Been knowing Garrett for a long time. I know the type of player that he is. I've seen him come in as a rookie and develop into one of the best left tackles in the NFL. And, Quentin Miners is one of the best guards in the NFL. They've paid all five linemen, from Wattenberg to Miners, Garrett Bowles to McGlinchey. They have been playing together, solid group. They've been playing together, for a very long time. And when you turn the film, they're just a solid group from right tackle to left tackle.
I promise this is going to be 30 minutes on the Broncos, but I know that you mentioned you'd reached out to him this summer about going back. You were kind of funny about it, but it seemed like it was quick.
Yeah.
Why was that?
So I had a Von's Vision charity event for my foundation in Denver. Every year I have that in Denver, and I invite some of the Denver Broncos to come out. Whether that's Patrick Tan, Gary Bowles, Cortland, whoever. Like my guys are still there. I try to invite them to come back. And, Garrett came this year and, just talking to Garrett and hanging out. And he was like, bro, have you talked to the Broncos? Like, come back. And I was like, man, y'all got Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper. Like, y'all don't need me. He's like, no, but you won, man. Did it be dope to have you back, man? It'd be so dope to have you back. And we could contribute and this and that. We ready to go to Super Bowl and you contribute. Like, you know what? Like, all right, I'll reach out. Me, with my GM mindset, I already knew like what the answer was going to be. Like, they got 2 other great pass rushers underneath those guys. And those guys go out there and get sacks as well. They're very productive on the football field as well. And they play special teams too. So I already kind of knew like, what it was, but it was a small piece in my heart that was saying like, okay, out of 53 guys, like there's got to be a spot out of these 53 guys that I could, that I could take. And, but that was just a small, like little percentage in there, but I already knew what like his answer was going to be. It was exactly what I had just told you. Like we got 2 other guys and, just giving them the space to be able to grow. Like, when I get in the game, like it's dedicated for me to get in the game. Like when I'm in the game, like I don't have to share that moment or share that space with anybody. Like it's me going out there trying to do whatever I can to get a sack. And I don't have to like, for the small period of time that I'm out there, the 35%, it's about Vaughn getting sacks and Vaughn making the play. So I knew like, to have that opportunity with the Denver Broncos, it probably won't happen. You got 2 guys that's 100% of the time that when they out there to get sacks and make plays, Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito. So I knew like, what it was. And that's exactly, after a short conversation, that's exactly what George Payton said. And we actually talked more about the path to be a GM in the National Football League. That's something that I really want to do after football. Coaching is just, I got a lot of respect for coaches, and I see like what it takes to be like a great coach in the National Football League. And I knew that I would probably be more suited for the infrastructure of the team and like building the team and getting the right guys in there than coaching guys each and every day. That's just my opinion.
When did you decide you wanted to become a GM?
I decided that a long time ago. Honestly, probably year 10 in the National Football League, probably year 9. Like after seeing John Elway do it for so long and, John Lynch, Ozzie Newsome, like some of the former players that I saw like play, Hall of Fame careers and then like head over to the front office. Like I saw those guys do it and I was like, man, that'd be something that I wouldn't mind doing. And it's not like I have like that I would say like I have this special talent or this special gift to like build teams. I would simply just go off of my experience. Like, I went to the Super Bowl 3 times, won 2, played with so many different Hall of Fame players. I would just base it off some of the experience that I had. And not only the players, but I've been around some Hall of Fame athletic trainers and Hall of Fame head coaches and, Hall of Fame GMs and Hall of Fame cafeteria workers and, Hall of Fame janitors and Hall of Fame, like I've been around so many different people and so many different personalities. I would just try to recreate, my own version of that.
If you were a GM and you were looking to hire a coach, I don't know if you're going to give me a name here because you play for so many guys. You may not feel like you want to leave anybody out, but there's probably a formula you have in your head of like, look, I want you to understand the game at this elite level, but I also want you to understand personalities and managing that many people on the roster. Like who do you think of when you think of like, this was kind of the perfect combination of all these attributes?
I believe some good ones. I say that. And I give those guys they props off top. Coach Fox was a great one. Coach Kubiak was a great one. Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio. I learned so much from him from the defensive perspective. His time at head coach was short, but when it comes to the best defensive mind that I've been around, probably Coach Fangio. And this was year 9, 10, and 11 that I was with Coach Fangio, and I was able to learn so much defensively. I was a better defensive mind after Coach Fangio being my head coach. And probably, he probably was a better defensive coordinator than head coach, but his IQ around the game is unquestionable. Like, I learned so much from him. Coach McVay, like, he was amazing. Like, Coach McVay, Coach McDermott, like, he gets this stigma of being like a hard-nosed, like, dry, like, coach, but he's one of the best coaches that I've been around as well. And then, obviously DQ, it just gets like, I'm always around like a great coach. And I think that's been a common denominator throughout my entire football career. Me getting around Dan Quinn like year 15 was definitely helpful too. Like, being around Coach Quinn at year 15, like, I feel like I could play year 16, I could play year 17 just by having a coach like that. But for me, the best coach that kind of embodies everything that I would want to do as, a GM would have to be Coach McVay. He just got it. Like, he was a great football mind. He could manage personalities. He was young. He's kind of like an actor. He's kind of like a like a Oscars, like, he's a handsome coach with like the little flip up on the hair, like super smart, super intense. Like, he led every single meeting. Like, he knew how to influence guys and motivate guys. Not like it was hard either though. Like, we had Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Andrew Whitworth, Leonard Floyd, Jalen Ramsey. Like, and he was able to just balance all of those personalities, and we were able to win the Super Bowl all over. So I would try to find the best version of Coach McVay that I probably could.
How hard would it be to find another Aaron Donald?
It'd be impossible. Just like it'd be impossible to find another Coach McVay. But I think, one thing about this league, it's always more talent. It might not be exactly like Aaron Donald. You'll never find another Aaron Donald, but you can go find a game record that wrecked the game similar to Aaron Donald did.
Let's put the GM hat on then. Let's go back to your draft class. You went number 2 behind Cam Newton. If you were the GM, would you have taken Cam 1 or you?
With what I've seen, like, in hindsight, I probably would have took JJ Watt, number 1. They already had Jimmy Clausen. And, the year after, it was Andrew Luck and, RG3. So even if we wasn't able to be successful, with Jimmy Clausen, I would have had JJ Watt. And then it was quarterbacks in the draft after me too. So you probably could have ended up with JJ Watt and Aaron Luck on the same team. And then who knows what would have happened. So then you wouldn't have been able to have Luke Kuechly either though. And he's a Hall of Fame talent too. But, in my opinion, like, JJ Watt, like, with hindsight, I still would have took JJ Watt number 1, and I still would have went number 2 to the Denver Broncos. I think, my career and the type of fans that I had, I wouldn't want to trade that for nobody. Like, Broncos country, like, this game that we just played, like, seeing all of those Broncos jerseys and seeing the type of love that I still got from Broncos country, like, I wouldn't want to trade that. Selfishly, we redrafting the draft, but selfishly, I wouldn't want to trade that for nobody. But I would have took probably Cam. Cam Newton would have been number 3 to the he would have been number 3 to the Buffalo Bills, and who knows the type of impact that he would have had on that franchise, as well. Then I just do the top 5. Then I think it was Julio was number 4, and then Patrick Peterson was number 5. I probably would have kept all those the same. And that would be my little reshuffle.
Yeah, but that was also so you'd have Jones, because the order was Marcel Darius, AJ Green, then Patrick Peterson, excuse me. I want to ask another kind of team building thing, because, like, over the years, just as a fan, right, you go, hey, this is the most important thing. And then sometimes maybe the rules change and there's the cyclical nature to the game. And then, look, I watched historically, I think there was an argument against paying the top receivers based on the team's success. And then, sometimes that can be like, hey, that's just something that's happening. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. And then you watch what the Cowboys are doing right now with this offense, where they end up with another number one in Pickens, which I know you talked about on the Free Range podcast, because it's just like, we knew the talent was there, but what he's doing now is like he's not just another number one. We're talking about a guy who's like a top 5 wide receiver next to CD. If you could build, and maybe you can correct me if you think I'm wrong in these positions, but if you could have two of like premier guys at the same position, would you rather have 2 elite tackles, 2 elite edge guys, 2 elite corners, or 2 number one receivers on the same team?
I just don't. It just, obviously there are anomalies, but I just don't believe in having the highest paid quarterback and the highest paid wide receiver. Your receiver is dependent on the quarterback. And, CD Lamb I think was the second highest paid wide receiver. And Dak Prescott gets hurt, last year. And his success is dependent on the quarterback. Obviously, there are anomalies. Like, you see what's going on now. Like, I just can't. With that being said, I can't see Jerry Jones letting go of George Pickens. Like, and you already got CD Lamb on the books. Dak Prescott is already the highest paid player in the National Football League. But I just can't see. You already let go of Micah Parsons, which was absurd to me, because Micah his success isn't dependent on any of those things. Like, you just throw Micah Parsons out there, he's going to get you 15 sacks a season. Like, and that's without having a top quarterback. Just imagine you put him on one of the teams that has a really good offense and they're playing with a lead. Like, who knows what type of success Micah would have in that type of environment too. And there are also anomalies in that too, like what Myles Garrett is doing. And he's one of the worst teams in the National Football League. he rarely ever plays with a lead. You saw the one game that he did play with a lead versus the Raiders, and he had 3 sacks. The week before, he had 4 sacks, and the week before that, he had 5 sacks versus the Patriots. And they were getting killed that game too. So there are anomalies with that. But I would pick, if I could have 2 of the best, like, that was the question, like 1 and 2. Would I rather have the 1 and 2 wide receiver, 1 and 2 defensive ends, 1 and 2 corners, or 1 and 2 offensive tackles? I would have to go with either the offensive lineman, a left and right tackle, or a left and right defensive end. I think you can build around both of those guys. You want to have like left and right tackles, 2 of the best tackles, and a decent quarterback. I think you can have some success there. But with those pass rushers, like, you can build around those guys too. They're going to make the cornerbacks better. They're going to make the linebackers better. They're going to make the interior linemen better. Corners, all great. They're right there, right behind those 2. I feel like having a left and right corner is great. Like, I've had success in that environment as well. Like, we had Aqib Talib and Chris Harris, and we were able to have success with me and DeMarcus, and we had players on all 4 corners of their defense. I know pass rushers, and I know the type of impact that they can have on games. But I would say I would have to go with the left and right tackle. I'm just one more player away. I'm just a quarterback away. And it doesn't even have to be like a top 5 quarterback. Like, I'm a quarterback away from having a really good team, because those tackles, they're so. If you look at every right tackle, every dominant right tackle in the NFL, they have a really good offense. Like, if you look at Christian, he's playing left tackle now, but Christian Wirfs, he's starting to right. They had success. You got Penny Sewell, right tackle, they're having success. Jawan Taylor, right tackle, they're having success. Brian O'Neill is one of the best right tackles in the league. They're not having, the success that they would want with the Minnesota Vikings. But throughout his career that he's been there, they've been able to have competitive football teams. If you have a really good right tackle, your offense is you're going to have some success at the right tackle position.
There was a play in the game against Denver where your right tackle got called for a hold in the first touchdown in overtime, right? And Cooper's coming around the edge, and he gets real low. And, look, it's kind of one of those momentum plays. They call it whatever. You end up getting a touchdown, you go for two, doesn't work out. That play reminded me of you, except for the part where Cooper ended up on the ground, because your bend is unlike, I think, anything I've ever seen. And I mean, I know this is like a weird question, but do you have an abnormally longer torso to legs? Like, have you ever been measured? Because I just can't imagine with your size, the bend, and all the times it looked like you may go down and then you just magically would pop back up and close on the quarterback. It is as special of an identifying thing of any player that I've ever seen.
I think it's just speed. And I try to take complex situations and just make them simple. I'm just thinking, how fast can I get from point A to point B? That's all I'm thinking about, is getting from point A to point B as fast as possible. And, that's the hardest part. Whenever you do a ghost move and the tackle just totally whiffs over the top of you, the hardest part is just staying up and bending around the corner. Jonathan Cooper got lucky on that one because that field was slippery and he ended up slipping. And then the tackle just kind of laid on him. It wasn't holding. If you look closely, he didn't even have him hooked for real. Jonathan, his neck wasn't bent back or anything like that. He just kind of fell with him. And
it looked bad is the prop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
was not bad though. He wasn't dragging him down or anything like that. He just kind of fell with him.
Yeah, right. And it's funny. I don't know if you've seen the TV tape of it. Probably not, because it's only been a couple of days. But the official, as he goes into the television to make the holding call, you can see he's kind of bummed out. He has this look. The place is going wild. They're going to go. You guys are clearly going to go for two. And he's holding. And look, it ended up not mattering or anything, but it was one of those things. Because even Collinsworth is oh, these Broncos edge rushers, they get so low. And I was like, nobody gets the guy that get historically low is on the other side of the field right now.
Yeah, it was a great game, man. And, I'm still kind of wounded from that game. It was a tough week for, Von Miller. The Aggies losing to TU, then, playing my former team, which I'm a huge fan of. It's just, when you are such a fan of a team like that, you want to beat them. I wanted to win. So, losing to, TU, the Longhorns, the only loss on an undefeated season as the Aggies, that was tough. And then losing to the Denver Broncos, a team that, I have so much love for, but I really want to beat them bad. That was tough too. And one little, that batted pass, because the guy was open. I got open in the flats, and that batted pass, it was just tough. The way we lost, played an excellent game. The way we lost, and it was just a tough week for Von Miller. But I'll bounce back, and we'll be ready to go versus the Vikings this week.
Yeah, let's talk a little A&M here, because you know how much your school means to you and that rivalry, and it's great to have this rivalry back again. But bigger picture, A&M headed to the playoff. How do you feel about it?
I feel great. I think Coach Elko's done an incredible job, with that team. Usually you would see some type of fall off a little bit. We haven't had any of that since Jimbo left. Mike has done an incredible job of just picking right up. He's a great teacher. He's an excellent coach. This defense that we have is solid. I think the jump that we have from Marcel Reed has been incredible. Having those two wide receivers, KC Concepcion, it all happened at a perfect time. Marcel was able to run the ball and throw the ball, and he's took incredible jumps too. Last year, he was just a little scrambler. Now he can scramble, he can throw. He looks comfortable after, in the backfield. The word that they use is moxie. He definitely has that. He has this confidence about him. He's buying time to make a play, not buying time to run for his life. And, this defense is great as well. Cassius Howell is one of the best pass rushers in, college football. We got really good corners, really good linebackers. Teron York, he's been good for the last 3 years. So solid defense, solid offense, and it's SEC made, tried, and approved. This team is built to win in the SEC.
I want to finish up with some of the more current day stuff here because the run with Denver, playing with somebody like Manning. You go up to Buffalo, you get LA, you get Stafford, and look, Jaden was terrific last year, and unfortunately he's been hurt. But is it, because you had Manning like at a different stage of his career, I guess I wonder like who you've been most impressed with as far as a teammate at the quarterback position.
Man, I played with some good ones. Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, Peyton Manning. I love all those guys. Like Josh, I would say Josh is probably like my favorite. Just personally, like just my favorite. But Peyton Manning, like, that's just ranking. Like I don't want to have anybody like, I love playing with Matthew Stafford too. Like I love playing with Jaden Daniels. Like, but Peyton Manning, like it was my second year in the National Football League. We get the sheriff. It was a sense of urgency. Like I remember watching him like at OTAs, like he'd like drop back and did like the little hitch, and you see like the towel, and like he had the big shirt, like, and he was throwing the ball, and it was like sharp, and I was just like blown away. I was like, yeah, we can do it. Like we got Peyton Manning. We can win the Super Bowl. And right when he stepped in that organization, like his first time like there, like it took us from being like a team that just wanted to win a division to let's go win a Super Bowl. And the first year was probably our best team. 2012, that was a year with the Mile High Miracle, where the Jacoby Jones catch and the Ravens going to win a Super Bowl. Ray Lewis's last year. And that was probably our best team. We didn't end up doing it because of that play. The next year we go to the Super Bowl and we lose to the Seattle Seahawks. It was the whole like a championship offense, a championship defense, what wins? The Seattle Seahawks won that one. The next year, we wasn't quite as good as the 2 years before. We were the number one seed, though, but we lost in the first round. We lost in the divisional round to the Indianapolis Colts, and that was in 2014. They cleaned house. They fired Coach Fox, and it's like, what's going on? They hired Coach Kubiak. We're like, dang, what we doing? Like, we still got a chance to win a Super Bowl. Like, this is Peyton Manning last year. He's going to do it. Like, we can still do it. And we ended up winning 9 games that year within 3 points or less. So you got 16 games. We win 9 of them within 3 points or less. Ended up going to the playoffs. We had a nail biter with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We beat the Patriots, and then we go and face Cam Newton in the Super Bowl, and we win that one too. So Peyton Manning, the 4 years that I played with him were definitely magical, and that would be the quarterback that I would pick. But I love all of those guys, though.
Did you guys call him the sheriff? Because I always see the nickname reference and then I never hear it outside of like, he certainly wouldn't introduce himself as the sheriff.
Yeah, the sheriff. That's just what just in Denver, like that's just the way he carried himself. And, especially like on the team, like a day-to-day work, like environment, like he was hands-on with everything. Like want the defense to run these plays. Like he knew everybody in the organization, like from Alfredo, our cook, to the janitors, to the trainers, to everybody. Like he knew everybody by first name basis. And it just gave off like this sheriff, the leader of the town type of vibe.
Yeah, I've heard it was really, really special. Like you don't understand, like you can watch on Sundays, but you don't understand what somebody like that who understands his responsibility to the organization, but you don't really understand unless you're around it every day of what he can do for a franchise.
He was more than the quarterback. He was more than the quarterback, though. He was definitely more than just a quarterback on game days. He had like an influence on everybody. It was good.
Well, that's a good way to kind of end this, though, too, because, when I look at you with Dan Quinn and you were talking a little bit about like, this is somebody that knows that he can trust you, that you can trust him. Looking at some of the snap count stuff, like clearly they don't want to wear you out, which I think you alluded to. Like, hey, I'm gearing up. I'm thinking about 26. But like where you're at right now, what do you want out of this season? What do you want out of next season as you close out your career?
I want to get deep in the top 10 of sacks. I don't like to say can't, but 200 sacks would be a challenge. I'm at 134 right now. 200 sacks, it'll be a challenge to get there. If I can
next
get to
year, it would be.
Yeah, 200 sacks would be tough. 200 sacks would be tough by the end of my career. This year 15, getting to 200 sacks would be tough. But 141 will put me at 6th. 141 will put me at 6th all time. Michael Strahan, and that's only 7 sacks away. So I got 5 sacks left in this. I got 5 games left in this season. then playing next year, I can get 7 sacks in 2 years. So I was able to get 5 up until this point. I can get 7.
For those who want to hear more from Von Miller, I would encourage you to check out the Free Range podcast because you're on it too. Like you're playing and then you're running through the games. You gave us a breakdown of Shador's start, the Myles Garrett move, which still seems like, do you watch that Myles Garrett move against Trent Williams and get a little jealous?
No, man, Myles is just, he's in his own lane. Like he's a special player, like, fellow Aggie. Yeah, I've been a fan of Myles for a long time, and you just got to be at peace. Like, I know what I could do. He's in a whole different stratosphere. Yeah, and you just got to be at peace with who you are and what you can do. And, like, God is very fair. And God made Myles the way he did, and God made me the way he did. And, I'm grateful for that.
Well, I think he did a pretty good job with you as well. Again, check out the Free Range podcast as we visit with Von Miller, and hopefully you'll come on when you become a GM, all right?
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Vaughn.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Hello, everyone. This is the Ryen Russillo Show. Life advice, lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. You already know that because you're this deep into the pod. Or we should do intros for the couples out there, the lovers. Life advice is for the lovers. That might be a shirt. I don't really blame. We did pretty well on the RSLO hoodie sales thing. I feel good about that. But you got to be a particular kind of guy to be rocking that and then have to like explain it. And then maybe somebody who doesn't know was like, what is like, who's the guy I think he is? Like he's got a fucking logo. And then you're rocking the hoodie because you like the content that much. So anybody that bought one, thank you. Because,
you're a real one. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But
laying it all on the line.
Anybody that was giving me shit about it, I was like, yeah, I actually get it. That was the original design that we had with Legends. And because I'm an investor in Legends and have known Scott, the founder, for such a long time, that it was just like, hey, I want to do something for you. And then they designed a thing. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I gave them out to a bunch of my friends. Then we did like a one-off sale of them for Legends a couple of years ago, but we didn't make that many of them, and it's also like, because it's such nice stuff, it's not necessarily the least expensive thing you could ever buy. So a special
we're not
thank
talking
you.
Comfort colors here,
Yeah, right. But I mean, we'd probably do a lot better on
comfort colors,
But don't you think we'd probably do a lot better on just like some thing that's a little
Gilded.
more generic as opposed to me pretending I'm like some 5-star wide receiver signing with Oregon?
Yeah, no, it's a niche product, no doubt about that.
Let it flow, boys. Like you're gonna let it out right now.
I don't have anything to say. Like like I said, I had bought one beforehand. I know what they're like. I like them playing golf. Am I wearing it? Around? Maybe not.
Hey.
But it's a statement piece.
It's
also like
but if you wore it around, like to me, that would make a little bit more sense.
There's kind of 3 guys in the world that it makes the most sense to wear it, and you're one of them.
Well, if I showed up today wearing it on the pod, you guys would be like, "What the fuck?" Would that be weird? I felt like that'd be weird.
That's Twitter comments might do that, but I would never say something like that to you.
I can't read the Reddit comments, man. It's just it's tough. But anyway,
well, I don't know. Is it cool if I wear it? I mean, I've worn it to the gym a couple times.
I've
gotten a couple questions.
Yeah, it totally is. It totally
is. Steph Curry, he wears his own stuff, right?
Well, thank you for comparing me to Steph Curry, but allow me to push back.
Is it not cool for LeBron to wear his logo? I don't know.
Yeah, I think those guys are pretty much like logo tier. I think you have to accomplish more than I have. And I'm not trying to fake humble this at all.
But there are probably lesser people that have a logo, though.
Your logo is your name, dude. It's
but do I like those people?
Gold's Gym guy lifting the barbell. That might be a little strange.
Well, I was taken.
It's just yeah, it is.
You're right. It is sort of the name. So anyway, on the next thing that we do, it'll probably be a little bit more for everyone. How about that? And I don't know what that is. I mean, would you actually just rock the t-shirt with the Ryen Russillo Show in a pocket? Is that a little bit more?
I would. I like the new logo. I like the colors. Also thought we had some pretty good ideas. I hope that's not just in a wastebasket somewhere.
No, it's
here's the thing too, is Barstool kind of does
fuck off.
Well, all that stuff. I took a picture of it just in case somebody erases it.
Good. I got it in my notes app if you ever actually care about doing it.
Well, now I really care. Now I think the next launch is just going to be a Kyle approved thing, and we're just going to
The Kyle line. Yeah.
Yep, we just made a decision.
Don't patronize me.
No,
I
I'm not
wanted to get
patronizing
one thing
you.
on a T-shirt.
I think
Now
the
that
Kyle
we're at,
line would
like,
actually be
the merch
would do
mecca.
well.
It's like maybe there's room for something. That's all.
What if it just said nephew Kyle, like nameplate on the back, and then just an NK?
That's the one you would ram through. That's the one you would ram through. Production. No.
Well, the other thing too is our guy Trig, right, who does like all the the drawing stuff. He's awesome. He hit me up and after because he listens to the show, listened to the episode, was like, hey, like let me obviously like we got Black Friday stuff going on, but like let me know what you guys want. But I was thinking I didn't want to rush stuff before Black Friday. If we release our stuff on our own, like at a different time of year, like maybe we do it, I don't know, March, April, maybe before the NBA playoffs. Like it's our own thing. We can kind of own it a little bit more. It'll be special.
Well, that sounds like, I don't know. Sounds like you're trying to break off from the company. I don't know if Dave's going to like that.
No. I'm just saying, like, we would just get lumped into the rest of the Barstool stuff, which is
We
fun.
weren't ready. We weren't ready for the full line. Like, I saw some of the Spit and Chiclet stuff, and I was like, that's awesome. That thing is sick.
Really,
like, look how good that looks. And then I started feeling bad
I'm wearing
about
something
myself
right now.
a little bit.
I got a box of stuff. I don't know how that happened, but
I think Ryan, was that you?
Is that you? Yeah.
I showed up yesterday, and I meant to give you
that's good stuff.
shout.
This is a great. I mean, listen, love this hoodie. It's great.
It looks great.
A lot of girl dad stuff too. Girl dad stuff's very popular.
So you threw that extra stuff on your tab
also
too, because I got my Russillo hoodie, and then you threw that extra stuff on your tab. Thank you.
I think it was just understood. It was like, hey, can everybody get hooked up here on this one?
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. All right, that's fashion. Let's get to some emails. We have one I actually love, so maybe I don't know if I'll do that one second. Yeah, I'll do a pretty basic one first, and then we'll do this other one second. Because honestly, I don't have anything close to a good answer, but I want to share it with everybody. Life advice: fluke concert encounter, a fluke encounter from Reddit, and a concert. All right, hey guys, love the show. Listening last 15 years or more. Wow. All right, 2-hour drive times 5 days a week. The show's been my favorite, so thank you. Used to go to a lot of concerts, haven't since COVID. I've seen Tool a few times, like that genre, alternative. I wanted to drive 4 hours to see a band, Sleep Token, and it was sold out. Do you like that, Kyle?
That's great.
This Friday, Sleep Token. Put the kids to bed and come rock. And aside, I'm going to just say this because of the reason I watched Snatch. You know the guy that plays Bricktop? He came out.
Yes.
I don't know how old the video is. Is it Brixton? You're kind of my London guy because I stayed in a very, very small circumference.
I'm your London guy? No, I don't know. Yeah.
Malevolence, hardcore band.
Nope.
Well, the actor who plays, what did I say? I said Bricktop, right?
Yes, you did.
Making sure. I had something else in my head for a second. He comes out and introduces those guys, and it's unbelievable.
That's
I would
pretty
almost
cool.
rather have that guy intro my show. So I don't know if we can get to Barstool Sales and
Cameo,
ask them
maybe?
what's in the budget and have Bricktop introduce, because he introduces
up to?
Yeah, if you
It's-
buy a Cameo, can you just use it as many times as you want, or is that like there's probably a legal thing in there, right?
I
I might be able to.
I saw
cover
some other
that
guys
for Christmas for you, buddy.
Yeah, maybe that'd be nice. There was some other guy that was like, what I like to do in Cameo is send him crazy things. Like, oh shit. Like, if you anything
the
else
whole
from
business model.
2018 you do? All right. Anyway, so Sleep Token. And it was sold out and I was broke. I did it too many times. I got on the subreddit and someone was advertising a free ticket. We agreed. We met at the venue and our tickets were together, but she was attractive. The next day I DM her to say thanks and I asked what else she listens to. We keep messaging back and forth a couple of weeks and turned into a texting daily thing. Then to even watching movies at night at the same time while texting about it.
You'll hit play, hit the space bar. at the
3,
same
2,
time.
1.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I went on a trip with someone and you hit the video on the plane and I like, yeah, like we were next to each other. This is a long time ago, but
That
it was
makes
like,
sense though.
yeah, but she was like, wait, you already hit play? And I was like, well, yeah, I don't know. What? She's like, no.
It's part of the routine here.
We have to hit it at the same time. I'm like, do we?
Yeah, because then you get wandering eyes if someone's ahead of you, and you keep looking over.
Yeah, it might be a
I don't have
courtesy thing.
discipline for that.
You know,
Yeah.
like staying seated or something.
Window window into some of my decisions in life. I'm like, yeah, that checks out.
Ryan's like, what? Why? Who cares?
Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
Figure it out.
Yeah. I don't have my, I don't need to set up my snacks. Then to even watching movies, we covered that. It's been 5-6 weeks of this. I think she likes you, dude.
Feels
That's
like
my
you're
first
in. Yep.
Yeah. It would be mostly talking about what's going on in our lives and a lot of joking back and forth, but we've yet to hang out in person. Well, this would be scary, except for the part that you've already met at this concert, which is a very specific kind of band. We've yet to hang out in person. We talk about it when it's weeks out. She seems to want to. I've also been out of the game way too long.
Okay.
And we never told each other. Yeah, right. Yeah, we can tell. Never tell each other how we feel about what's going on with us, but she does. She does all the time want to watch movies and text with me, and I love every minute of this. So she also just got out of a long-term relationship that just ended earlier this year. Worst case, where am I? The rando Reddit guy that's nice and makes you feel comfortable, but not that comfortable. Maybe she's afraid of jumping back into a possible relationship. I have also gotten into many friend zones in the past. You've gotten into the friend zone because they're waiting for you to get out of the friend zone.
Guys are like two pussies circling each other in a bar parking lot. That's never going to fucking... There's a lot of shouting.
Wow.
Well, I'm sorry. That's just as a decider.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's okay to say. I think.
Whoa.
Right?
It's okay to say it, but I've refrained from it because I don't know.
Okay. Sorry. Well, as
no,
a
you
side,
do whatever you want.
I'm having trouble
use the C word.
adjusting. I'm having trouble adjusting to
Yeah.
nightlife.
Word. That's what
I'm the I'm like a daytime bar guy, and I've been having some weird nights out. There's a guy who said he's going to remember my face. So I just shouted my name at him. I told him I'm around. I don't know. This is like I never had to deal with any of this stuff during the daytime when I would go out. Now it's all nighttime.
Back up. We'll get
to
you.
A different crowd.
We'll get to you, guy who went to the Sleep Token show. So yeah, right. You were a daytime pop-in guy, and now because of time zone changes, and I don't know that the schedule's all that different. You're out. You're working the nightlife crowds now, is what. So you're out there.
Well, it's
with
just
the
when my buddies will go out, so it's really my only
most
option,
people,
really.
Kind of.
All right,
at night.
Save the tone. I see that. Enough. I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing now. I'm doing the thing that everyone else does. So
what are you saying? Like you're getting messed with now? Is this
I
what
was
happened?
just like, it was just like I've just got a new enemy already. Like I haven't had an enemy in LA in almost the whole time I was there. Now there's a guy who's he's going to remember my face.
What happened? Give us the timeline.
My buddy was trying to get into this bar that we were already at, and he
What time
lost
of night
his
is it?
wallet. It's probably 11 p.m.
Early to
he
lose a
lost his
wallet,
wallet. He's rummaging through his whole car. It's a mess. There's a guy in his window talking to him, and I'm just I see him. I'm like, hey man, what's going on? And I guess he didn't like that I was near him, even though we were both talking to my friend. He's like, what are you doing, man? Who the fuck is this guy? And I just I said, hey, mind your own business, man. And he's like, oh, mind my business? I'm going to remember your face, man. His friends are carrying him off. And I was just this would have never happened at the Frolic Room. So,
but you yelled, my name's Kyle.
I said, I'm Kyle. I'll be around. Yeah. You don't have to remember my face. I'm Kyle.
Damn
Google
right
me.
you will be. Yeah. That wasn't a lie. I will be around.
Yeah, we're around. So
right.
I don't know.
All right. So let's get back to our guy here. Yeah, man. I mean, you already did a great self-evaluation here. She is waiting for you to make some kind of move. What other invitation do you need here? And let's also face it too. When there are do you know how when a juggalo meets another juggalo, it's on. And I'm not calling Sleep Token ICP. I mean, I don't know that they have the resume or the reach, but you're into a certain kind of music and you have this connection. She's probably not meeting a lot of men that are necessarily as into some of this stuff. She advertises the tickets. She may have even done that, hoping to meet somebody. So what else do you need to have happen here? You need to get out of your own way and straight up say hey, this is my favorite thing. I look forward to it every day. I love this. And you know what? I know you've gone through a lot. This is kind of new for me again, but let's just hang out, without worrying about where it's going or any of that stuff. I'll drive up to meet you. Don't say the kind of the move is I'm getting a hotel in town, so I can stay there and then drive back in the morning. So you're already getting assumptions out of the way. And then who knows, like that could be some extra credit for you because he wasn't assuming anything or whatever. And maybe this is challenging for her, but you're getting a lot of great signs and you're aligned in like a very specific interest here where you're probably providing her just conversation. And I don't mean to say it again and be redundant, dialogue with somebody she's probably not meeting a lot of people like you. So give yourself some credit here and fucking, rip off the shackles of doubt.
Yeah, I remember being younger thinking like we should hang out sometime was like enough, and the girl's like, yeah, we should. It's like, no, you have to be like, hey, what about this Friday? I'm thinking about this thing. Like you think that you've done enough, and like that might even be pushing your comfort zone, like where you're like, oh, going out on a limb here, saying we should hang out sometime, and then when she just fires back with, yeah, totally, and you don't follow up with that. That's how you end up doing the 6 week, circling. So I think you have to do specifics. And I really like your, hey, I'm getting a hotel and like all that stuff. There's plenty of stuff we can build off of that, but you got to hit the hole, man. This is a football term as I'm talking here. You got to just do that. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to put something on the books.
Okay. Yeah, like you've done the hard part, right? Like,
yeah,
and
there's somebody.
There's you know how many dudes who listen to this podcast? Like, how do I get that?
And you're keeping up.
Like, can I get her number
text?
too?
Yeah. You're not
thinking about checking out a
text?
Sleep Token show.
Yeah. So I here's the other thing too is like, there's no way you're reading the situation wrong. Like if you're like staying up together, clicking play at the same time to watch a movie, like that would be an incredible gaslighting situation from her.
You're almost
She's
engaged.
not actually interested.
Yeah, you're right, bro. You are right.
You might be emailing her next week about a prenup. Who knows?
Yeah.
So go get it.
You pick. Yeah.
All right. This one is unbelievable. It's one of my favorite emails in a really long time. It's not because the email itself, it's the premise. What this guy is hoping to pull off. Let's get into it. Please leave out details like location and pertinent information. Okay, no problem. 61195, 26 years old. Pickup comp is a fundamentally deficient, lower IQ Steve Nash in Dallas. I think we're all lower IQ than Steve Nash.
So he's Steve Nash, but not the IQ nor the basketball skills. Got it.
Hey, guys are getting more honest with this stuff, though. Remember when this first started happening? I don't even know how it happened necessarily, but it's like every guy that was a little thick around the waist was like Boris Diaw. And you're like, so French.
Yeah, we
Magic
did.
Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Not Magic Johnson, but you get the point. Used to squat 4 bills for reps. Recently moved into more ERG skiing and rowing. All right. Wow. So that's a young age to make that decision. What's up, Ryan, Kyle, Sir Rudy? Apologies in advance for the longer email. Here's the situation. How do I convince my long-term girlfriend that moving out after living together for 2 years to live with a group of my childhood buddies for a year isn't a step back in a relationship?
There's not an answer to this.
Dude, this is like Ocean's 14. You're going to need a whole crew to pull this thing off. Oh, man.
This is like getting too far in Final Fantasy 7 and then being like, or no, Final Fantasy 10. It's like, no, you just don't have enough hit points built up.
Right.
Nerd alert.
You took the wrong path.
Wow. Yeah,
yeah. You didn't put in the work, those trails.
Outside of like hitting up Leo DiCaprio and pulling some sort of Inception move where you plant the idea in her mind that this is a good idea, I have no idea.
Yeah, brain chip.
Your friend has to fake like a terminal illness and be like, this is his last wish.
We got 6 months.
The only thing I can think of.
There's a thing called Make-A-Wish, but for dudes.
Yeah.
And they're not sick.
Oh, man.
I met my girlfriend senior year of college 4 years ago. We've been inseparable since. She's an amazing partner. Out of my league. Pictures attached. Saw the pictures. She is probably out of your league, man. But I don't like saying that.
What are you
dudes.
doing, dude?
Yeah, she's gorgeous. Like she's one of the pictures is like incredible. Anyway, incredibly smart, easygoing, overall a great person to build a life with. He also like included a graduation picture, so it's like, oh, she's also really smart too. We've enjoyed each other's company so much. We've been living together for the past 2 years with 2 other roommates, her friends from college. Wait a minute. Is there something perhaps on the pros and cons list to use that in your argument? Like, well, I lived with your friends.
If you even really want to make this argument, yes.
Yeah.
If you really just...
What's
you
the problem? I
actually
lived with
wanna
your
put-
friends for 2 years.
Yeah, this is like a Judd Apatow movie from like 2007, waiting to be like. They both convinced each other to move in with their friends after being. I would watch that movie.
Like I would have wanted to do this. This is something I would have done.
Dude, I'm married with 2 kids, and I'm like, how do I?
It's fun to think about.
This is why people buy houses. Like, you see on the Instagram, it's like, oh, if you bought this whole block, right? And, everyone's got a house and there's like a community pool. And it's like, yeah, like, let's just go in on this. This would be awesome. We could all live together.
It's failed town in Texas or something, right?
Yeah.
No, I love that stuff. I mean, there's certain neighborhoods, certain friends of mine that I have, and they all just like, hey, they're at a stage of their life where they all bought houses on the golf course or, some of the guys are rich enough to have like condos in the city. Maybe that would be just better for everybody. Maybe it'd be better for parenting. Anyway, back to the email. There's a theory working on in my head there, but I don't want to disrupt where we're at right now. All right. So not the most conventional post-college setup. I have no complaints. Living with women is great, relatively clean, proactive about doing housework chores. Don't mind friends coming over out of the blue for NFL Sundays, pre-games before going out, video games, etc. It all allows me to max out my 401k, backdoor Roth, make substantial investments into my personal portfolio. Pretty sweet, right? Sounds great, man. Here's a conundrum. A group of my hometown best friends are all relocating to my city, renting a house together, and want me to join as the 4th roommate.
Damn, dude.
Like myself, are all in good careers and relatively focused for being guys in their mid-20s. While I normally wouldn't entertain an opportunity like this with any other group of guys, part of me revels in the idea of getting one last hurrah with the fellas for a year before getting engaged and fully transitioning into a conventional adult living situation.
A year-long bachelor party.
This is not going to work. But anyway, this, however, would require me to convince my girlfriend that blowing up our current setup and moving in with our respective friends is, all caps, not a step back in the relationship. I have to know, like, did you talk about, it gets worse. For context, we have previously discussed the possibility of moving out of our current spot and settling into a 2-bed, 2-bath apartment for us.
He's excited
and our 2-year-old dog. Yeah, so you've already planted this seed. That now it's even harder. While this would be a great setup, the conversation hasn't gone any further than it being a prospective option. Well, I promise you, she's thought about it probably more than you have. Am I crazy for wanting to live with my guys? Quick answer, no, as we've all discussed here. Back to the email. As we get older, I realize our time together is finite. And this is likely the last chance we'll have to all live under one roof. I personally do not see this as a step back in a relationship. We would ideally still live incredibly close to one another and still spend the same, if not more time together than we do now.
You're fucking crazy, dude. You've taken the crazy pill already. That's nuts.
Yeah. That sentence is doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Fucking Jordan Belfort here.
We'd still spend the same, if not more time together than we do now. Can you come over? No. I just got Bedard on the Sabres. I'll see you tomorrow. With this in mind, I don't even know if I should bring this up to her. Part of me thinks she'd be okay with it, but the other more rational part of me tells me I'm fucking stupid for even thinking about asking her about this, and it will not go over well. Please let me know what you would do. Would you keep your mouth shut and carry on with your happy little life, or make a compelling argument for why we should do this and how it would be impactful to our future plans together? She has a ton of friends in the area who have professed interest in living together in the past, but have never seriously considered it due to our current living situation. Thanks for reading. Big fan of the show. All right. Well, I want you to ask solely for the follow-up email. So selfishly, I'm going to tell you to ask.
Can you buy a pair of like Ray-Ban Metas and just give me like a 2-minute clip of that, dude? That's insane.
Do you ask? Let's ask the married guys here.
No.
I mean,
no.
You could.
What?
You could just play it off as a joke, but there's no way it goes
If she's
over
smart
well.
enough about any of things, she'd be like, wait, hold on a second. Let's just pause. Are you fucking seriously trying to get, no way.
The other thing too is like girls, females, they have like a timeline on these things, women,
female women.
And like, it's a bad look in her circle if you did, like, that is like,
her parents are never going to look at you
social suicide.
If you, like, friends, parents, cousins.
And I know you don't see it that way, but that it's and it isn't that way. You could love her and want to do and all the things, want to marry, have kids with her, like all
they
the
have
stuff
a dog
you say.
too.
It's such a bad look for her that like it's almost disrespectful. I mean, it's definitely disrespectful. Even though I think your intentions, you feel like a pure guy, your intentions seem good. I get it, but like this is what golf trips are for, dude. I'm going on one next week. We're going to Tampa. 8 dudes.
Hell yeah.
Like, this is why you do these things. Like, when you get to a certain age, like seem like a little bit younger, but like when you get to a certain age, like these are the things you look forward to. You get once a year, you kind of get to reminisce with the boys, and that's kind of it. And that's just life. I mean, get an Xbox, like hop
Once
on
a
and
year.
just like have a couple nights a week and talk to your guys playing. Yeah, like that's like seriously, that's unfortunately, I mean, it's not.
Share your locations on iPhone. That's kind of fun. We're experimenting.
Do any
with
of the
that
other
right now.
guys have girlfriends either? That's, I guess, a good question. Like, they probably are all single too. So this is like this is a mess.
Their lifestyle's got to be. Not, four dudes aren't moving into a house to rent if one of them has a girlfriend.
Yeah,
or at least a serious one.
I want him to ask and also pitch that this will actually make them stronger.
It seems like he's really feels like he could have a couple of bullet points to throw
I
at
want
her.
to test our relationship more.
If it were three of my favorite guys, not only would I ask, I would then break up if not allowed to. And then probably
That
have
tracks.
like
That
a
tracks.
moment 2 years later where it's like, oof.
I was gonna say, if this is the girl, like this is his girl, like this is not.
This is why you don't take this step. When
I think
you're-
it's this girl.
This is why you don't take this step when you're 24 years old, which is what he did, right? This is what it's because if this is what you
sometimes
want.
that's life, you know.
I know. I'm just saying when you're 24 years old and you're like, this might be the girl, you know, but we're gonna scope each other out for a couple of years before I ask her to marry me. You're 24. I mean, you've only been out of school for 2 years, right? So, I mean, you really didn't leave yourself much of a chance to have the living sister. I'm not saying don't date anyone. I'm just saying when you take this thing and you hop on a lease at 24, that's pretty much if this is who it works out with, that's going to be your only roommate forever. So this is, you kind of you miss that chance. The fact that he said he's 26, he's been there for 2 years already, you know, that's one of the drawbacks of committing to a living situation like that. Because you can't just say, hey, everything will be the same, but we'll have different addresses now.
The problem is if you do it in a joking manner to like soft launch it,
she'll see it.
And then she'll be like, wait, you're serious? If you were to bring it up again, and then she'll point back to the joke, and it's like, well, you handled it this way. Like, this is one of those scenarios where it's probably whatever you come up with. And I've been thinking here as I read it, we've done it again. Like, what? Like, all right, you have to find a way, right? You know, you're sitting there, you have to find a way to at least pitch this to give it the best chance of you getting permission to go ahead and do this. And if you soft launch it and she doesn't really pick up on it, and then you revisit it again, then you're going to get penalized for soft launching it. It's like, oh, wait, this whole time you've been serious and you've wanted to do it. So that's probably out. If you went the other route where it was like really funny and she knows your three buddies, and then it's like they do a PowerPoint deck, whole presentation, why it's a good idea, all this stuff.
They
like
do
it. Could be, right. They kind of do
like,
it
oh,
for
guys, are
you.
you serious?
Yes. Yeah. This is, and then everybody's laughing and like they really nail it, you know, maybe rehearse it a couple times. That also could backfire in a huge way because it's like you've been devising this plan and then this whole time you've made the decision this is something you wanted to do and you didn't even talk about it with me. You talked about it with them first. Like there's just so many fucking landmines with this thing. So I love that you two guys both said straight out, don't even ask. I'm saying
some
just
sleepovers, dude.
Just for the explorers out there, for the guys that want to wander, I want you to ask just so you can tell us how bad it went.
Yeah, we got some. I mean, I know I have something to lose in this situation. Like it's not. I know it's not going to go well. I don't know. I think
it's
here's the
sort of
thing too. Is like
go ahead.
you're in the same city. I know it's not the same thing, but like you're still young enough where it's like if you spend a night or a weekend over at these dudes' houses, like you're going to be able to do that. You know, it's not like you can still kind of have the fun and not have to necessarily live there. I know it's not the same. Everyone's going to come at me, but like you could still like, hey, Friday to Sunday,
No one should
watch
come at you
football
for
all
saying
day.
that. I mean, everything you just said makes a ton of sense. I want him. What if she says, yeah, no problem? Is that actually bad? I mean, think about that. What if you get your way and then it's like, uh-oh.
You'd be like just popping up at the apartment unannounced, like anything going on here?
There's just so many things you can't say because you're going to, like, we get you, man. I get you, even though I'm so much older than you. I wouldn't want to do this now, right? But this was something even in my 30s, like I toyed with. I know a couple guys, I think they kind of like gave up on decent careers just to move in with the cooler friends that we had in our friend group later on in the scenario, where I would like kind of see the deal and be like, you know what, these guys are, who cares? And now that I'm so much older than even back then, it's like, who gives a shit if you're 30 is you live in a major city and you go, what's the plan? Everybody's dropping their messenger bags off at the sofa and being like, it's Friday. Is it sushi and blow? Or that's an old line from a radio talk show host at ESPN. Cowherd said it once, and he got in trouble, and it was just hilarious. He was doing like a daily thing, and he goes, he's like, it was like a whole Joe Buck thing where he was saying he liked that Joe Buck wasn't a baseball nerd, and it made him a better announcer because he basically said he's not going to watch the Pirates on Tuesday. And then Cowherd was like, I like our guys cultured. I want my guys out in the mix. He goes, I don't want you watching Pirates baseball on Tuesday. I want sushi and blow. And they called him in, and they were like, hey, that analogy, you're great with them.
I think we found the line. That one may not work.
And then it was just classic Cowherd. He like comes in on prepping one day. He's like, what's up? I was like, what's going on? He's like, they didn't like the sushi and blow analogy. And then the thing is, the great thing about Cowherd is you could just go like, all right, whatever. Like, on it. And that's not really something to get too upset about. Anyway, report back.
Yeah.
These two guys, look, the
Please.
vote is 2-1. Don't even bother asking.
Yeah. The one thing I could think of, it's like, you ever had like an idea that you haven't talked to like anyone of consequence about, and you just think it's like, so, and it's the second you tell somebody that like matters in your life, they're like, what are you, fucking crazy? And you've already planned like steps 2, 3, 4 of this plan, and you
3-roll scooters.
Dude, I was going to buy a house in Maine with my buddies after my bachelor party. I was like,
Right.
no, knock it.
And you
7
totally-
hours, not that big of a deal.
Exactly.
Think of how many, we could all go up there. There's 5 bedrooms. It's on a lake. And you're just
You
like, what?
zoomed
And by the way,
Step
if you
one.
do that, in.
Yeah. Well, you were invited. That was my bachelor party. You didn't show up. So there you go.
That wasn't going to work. The wedding, that one I feel zero guilt about. The wedding, but we've already discussed there's other elements that were going on there.
No,
Whatever.
you're good.
I know you don't care. Listeners care, which, makes all this worth it. All right, that'll do for the pod today. I think we can't solve all of them. We had some people follow up on the hot tub guy, the creepy Italian guy. We missed on that because plenty of guys were like, have the dude, the husband, just show up and be like, hey, wife couldn't make it. Where's the tub?
Oh, that's great.
We had a lot of people say that. We missed on that one.
Hey.
That was really good. So thank
Keep
you
us
to
in check.
those.
It's fine. Yeah.
Hey, look, we're trying to get better every day. You know us. Thanks to Kyle. Thanks to Steve, the Ryen Russillo Show, part of the Barstool Network. Please subscribe and check out our good 10 minutes on our YouTube page as well. And we'll be back on Monday recapping a huge conference championship weekend in college. And
Danny Cannell.
And Danny Cannell going over the rankings,
Yeah.
where he almost crashed his car bitching about the
I saw
rankings, which I was like, did he actually do this video? And guess what? He did it. So we'll get to that as well. Thanks for listening.